Greetings, greetings, greetings. Happy Sunday. Hope you all are well. Hope everybody is reaching your highest level of mental, physical, and spiritual health today. And hopefully you are able to survive the onslaught of sports that's coming to you. If you're living in this backward country, that's all you're getting today is, it's the biggest day for people to be arrested for driving under the influence of something in this country every year. Is Super Bowl Sunday, which is today. So hopefully you're safe and you're in a location where you don't have to worry about being run over by somebody who's under the influence of something. And we can spend this next hour talking about this very important topic, our 98th edition of our Ancestors' Voices, Revolutionary and Healthy Love. We're going to talk about that from the standpoint of how everything in this capitalist world and society is motivated by profit over people, right? So when you have the question of love for the capitalist system, February 14th is just simply a day to entice you to spend money on flowers, on candy, on delivered arrangements, on going places, on doing all these things that make you spend money with corporations. That's the concern for promoting a holiday. It has nothing to do with promoting healthy and functional families that have values based in justice. So I'm sure, hopefully everybody understands that Valentine's Day has nothing to do with that, like Christmas has nothing to do with justice and living in the life example of Jesus Christ. And none of these holidays in this society are based on principles and values. All of them are based on getting you to spend money with the people who oppress the entire planet. That's what these days are for. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And we start by giving honor and respect to the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere. I was watching some movie, and they had this concept of, I don't know if it was, I can't remember if it was a movie or a show, but they had this concept of people having oh no, it was a commercial. It was an infomercial. That's right. In a hotel I was in this weekend, and they had this concept of people. They were trying to sell people on title locks. So if you have you own a home and you have a title, you buy this service, and they'll make sure nobody can illegally access the title to your property. And I was watching that, and they had all these Europeans on there, and they had this Negro on there who was an FBI agent talking about how people steal people's properties. And I was thinking the indigenous people needed this. They needed title lock on this whole hemisphere. They should have title lock so that they could go and say, wait, here's evidence that you stole this land. And so you need to give it back to me. They can have that Negro FBI agent come down. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The land needs to be returned to them. So we honor the indigenous people because this is their land. They didn't have title lock several hundred years ago, but that doesn't mean a thing. It's still their land. And of course, we honor our African ancestors who didn't have title lock either. So that's why all of the riches in Africa are controlled by European, meaning US, Europe, Canada, Zionist Israel, Australia, etc., and so forth, the usual crooks and characters. That's why they control every resource, human and material, that comes out of Africa, every resource, human and material, that comes out of African people scattered and suffering in 120 countries all over the world. So that's what we're here to discuss today, is revolutionary and healthy love. And we'll start with our usual introductions. And so our Ancestors' Voices, this program is sponsored by the All African People's Revolutionary Party. So this is a part of our work to challenge the status quo and raise questions and try to get folks to think, because people in this society don't know how to think. I mean, we just know how Kwame Ture said, we just know how to react to stimuli and think we're thinking, but we don't know how to think. We don't know what analytics is. And even if you tell people do research, all that means to them is Google something. They don't know who wrote what they look at on Google. They don't know how credible that is. They don't even know how, we don't even know how to determine if something is credible. And so if we don't know how to do that, we don't know how to think. So that's our work at this stage, is trying to get people to understand how to think critically. That's in our interest. And the All African People's Revolutionary Party is a revolutionary, independent, mass political Pan-African party based in Africa. And our objective is Pan-Africanism, which we define correctly as one unified socialist Africa. We believe that this is the solution to the problems people face all over the world, our people, and that until Africa is free, no matter where we live, no matter if we speak English, French, German, Portuguese, Spanish, no matter what language you speak, Creole, Swahili, Yoruba, we will not be free until Africa is free. We just said that these crooks and criminals control everything out of Africa. That's where they got the wealth. That's where the wealth in this country comes from. That's where the wealth in Canada comes from. Every country in Europe, robbing and stealing from our mother, Africa. So our fight is to halt that process and seize our resources back, to use them to solve the problems we have as a people everywhere on earth. And the work that we do is defined in Kwame Nkrumah's Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, where he displays the strategy to achieve Pan-Africanism, which for us is organizing all of the organizations on the ground throughout Africa who are fighting for the same objective that we've identified: Pan-Africanism, one unified socialist Africa. So we have a number of political formations. You see some of the logos there. And I want to take this time just to mention that we are continuing to raise money for one of our sibling parties on the ground in Africa, the Zimbabwe Movement for Pan-African Socialists. Of course, obviously they're revolutionary Pan-Africanists on the ground in Zimbabwe. We are one with them in the APRP. We are the same. There's no difference. So they are wanting to raise money to buy revolutionary literature. We have revolutionary literature on our book list in the APRP. Books by people like Frantz Fanon, Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Assata Shakur, Amy Jock Garvey, Walter Rodney, etc., so forth. Those books are not really, anybody that knows anything about Africa knows none of those writings are readily available in Africa. The only thing that's readily available is C. Dick Run, Huck Finn, all of this backward reactionary literature that's brought into Africa by European capitalist so-called religious missionaries who have an objective of making our people docile and serviceable to neo-colonialism in the capitalist system. So of course our work obviously is to halt that backward process and to seize control. And in order to do that, we have to be educated. So help us raise money for our sibling organization. You can do that. We'll show you throughout the presentation by going to www.abetterworld.me. We're not asking for large donations. We want to be able to send them like $100 a couple of times a month, because the backward US has sanctions against Zimbabwe. So if we had a large amount of money, they would seize it and wouldn't let them have it. We sent $100. The capitalists, our comrades confirmed they were able to pick it up from donations you all made before. So we're going to continue that. So if you got $5, $10, that's what we're asking you for. Send that and we'll send that over to them. And then after a little while of that, we'll transfer to one of the other sibling parties that you see on your screen here. Thank you very much. And our Ancestors Voices is hosted each week by Jamu, myself, and Shakura, my daughter, both of us happy and dedicated organizers within the All African People's Revolutionary Party. So we will start this important topic of revolutionary and healthy love, and I'll turn it over to Shakura to get us underway.
Greetings, everyone. Hello. So we want to start off by just continuing to process and think about, how do we define revolutionary and healthy love? So, I humbly did the best that I could to try to put together what I thought would be a conclusive definition. And, keep in mind, you can kind of look at this presentation. My dad can correct me if I'm wrong, but you can kind of look at this presentation in twofold. So, yes, we could be talking about how you potentially, as an organizer and as a revolutionary person, are trying to figure out how to cultivate and have space for you to have some type of intimate relationship with a person that you consider to be very special to you and whatnot. You may even believe in multiple open relationships. And if that's your definition on how you facilitate your life, that's on you. I don't have any qualms with that. I don't personally agree with that, but that's however you want to look at that in terms of having a relationship with one person or multiple people. But you could also look at this presentation as a revolutionary landscape, if you will, in terms of how you have revolutionary healthy love for the people and the work that you're doing. So I just want to make sure we highlight both of those avenues, because yes, ideally you could look at it like you're having a personal situation with someone, but ultimately we're all organizers, right? The reason we're on this call right now is because we see problems with the world and we're trying to do a number of things to address those problems. So that means that you also have to have love for the people. I mean, if you're an organizer and you're on this call now, you know how much this work can take from you. Like I'm not just making that up out of my own head and out of my own experiences. Other people on the Zoom, or if you're on Facebook, you can support me and testify that this is some serious work. The devotion alone is by no means, not to mention the efforts, the work, the labor, the technology, the internet bills, the phone bills, the different conversations that need to be had. Even when you're in the grocery store and you see an opportunity when somebody uses the N-word, or you see an opportunity when someone does something patriarchal, you might be inclined, because you're a community defense expert, or you're trying to intercept and see how you can correct or redirect that behavior. And so because you're always on, if you understand what I'm saying, you're always on as an organizer, which means you're always helping people understand that they must join an organization working for justice. That means that job is never done. And you never are not doing that job. You're always doing that job, right? And so that means that you have to have a healthy love for the people and the work that you're doing, because you need to continue to remind yourself why you do this work every day. The moment you get disconnected and you forget that, then the effort is lost. The effort is not as strong, and then the work is not as quality, right? And we need as much quality effort and work as possible, because as I just said, the world is still in shambles. So with that being said, you decide what path you want this presentation to be for you, but I'm going to try to speak from a dual standpoint to help us understand that when we define revolutionary and healthy love, we're talking about both circumstances of being in a relationship with a human being, but also the work that you're doing as an organizer, if you see fit to apply it in that way. So I would humbly define it as using energy, genuine love, consideration, and selflessness to build something vulnerable yet sturdy with another person or organization that you would sacrifice for in a heartbeat or a moment's notice. Basically, your willingness to die for the people or the person. That's how I would define your definition of revolutionary and healthy love. How are you willing to put your life on the line so that other people can benefit from your struggles? How are you willing to help the masses? And so is it for the greater good that you died? Okay, then you're willing to be the person that is what happens to, because you understand that any other person after you is going to have a very different outcome because of what you did today, or what you did last week, or what you did 25 years ago. What are some examples of that in capitalism? Well, that's an oxymoron statement. There are no examples of this, because when we do see examples, we get frowned on heavily, because it's not centered around materialistic possessions. Those are the examples that we have. We see examples all the time of quote unquote Black love or African love. But if you'll notice, it's also tied in very strongly with embedded materialism. So I would give examples like Barack and Michelle. I would give examples like Beyonce and Jay. Those are examples that we see, but are they really examples that define this idea of selflessness, of sacrifice, of understanding that there is a world larger than the United States? None of those couples I just mentioned can even display an ounce of that, because we're all centered to just think about the US, and we're also centered to think about how much money they have, because everything is centered around money. And if you don't have money, then you didn't do something right in your life. And that's why you're a loser, because you don't have money. So we have to think about devotion. We have to think about our ancestors, like my ancestor, Amy Jacques Garvey. That is revolutionary love to me. The only reason we have Garvey and Garveyism, the book, is because Amy wrote that book by dictation of Marcus Garvey. And so, yes, Garvey contributed in the way by telling Amy what to write, but it was Amy who wrote the book. Okay, so we need to understand that because Amy dictated everything our comrades said, That's why we understand what the UNIA was all about. That's why we understand that Marcus Garvey was arrested numerous times. That's why we understand that Amy had children and still found a way to pay the bills for that organization, because Amy had it going on, okay? That's why we understand that Amy, to me, is a clear definition of what revolutionary and healthy love was. Amy had sacrifice after sacrifice after sacrifice for Marcus, as well as the organization and her family. Amy understood that without a shadow of a doubt. I also think about our comrade, Fernando Gonzalez. Remember, Fernando Gonzalez was a part of the Cuban Five, if you all remember from that presentation we did a while back. So Fernando Gonzalez had to actually lie to his family because he had to infiltrate and basically take on a very absurd identity that his family knew he wasn't affiliated with. So he had to convince them that he basically had decided he was going to sell out. It would be like me joining the WKKK. So if you saw me walking around as a WKKK member, you'd be like, Shakura has lost her mind. But I'm infiltrating this organization for a reason, but I can't tell you all that's what I'm doing. So I have to lie to my partners. I have to lie to my children. I have to lie for decades on, because I can't allow you all to understand what's happening. Obviously, I'm protecting you, but more importantly, I can't blow my cover because I'm trying to maintain this new identity to make the new organization give me some information because I've infiltrated them. That's what our comrade Fernando did. That is revolutionary and healthy love. Fernando knew what was at stake for the Cuban Revolution, and Fernando had only moments to make the decision that they made. And once they made that decision, their own family thought that they had lost their mind. Their own family discredited them. Their own family dishonored them and didn't want to have anything to do with them. And then think about all the sacrifices that were made afterwards, when Fernando had to then go back and explain to the family why he did what he did, and to try to think about explaining to them, I only did this because it was for the greater good of the people. Those are examples that I can think about of folks who understand what revolutionary and healthy love is. It's not selfish. Revolutionary and healthy love can only be selfless. Why? Because the people are at stake. And if the people are at stake, then your loved one that you consider to be your partner, your crime and partner, your ace boon coon, whatever you call it, then that person is at stake. So you understand that whatever has to be done, all people who matter, meaning everybody that you care about, needs to benefit from something that you're doing, and vice versa, because we all have a responsibility to make. We should also think about how a lot of our ancestors had partners, and that information was not privy to us because they understood why protection needed to occur. And they also understood that there were systems in place that were designed to break them apart and to devise them up. So the other piece is, what does it mean to have some privacy? What does that mean in terms of protecting yourself if you do identify as a revolutionary person? What does that look like? The second thing, or the third thing I'll talk about is, why are we looking for love in the wrong places? So we have to remember that mayhem and chaos are socialized into us. When we are in the wombs of our parents, right? Before we are born, we are socialized to understand that mayhem and chaos is the norm for us. That is the norm, you all. That is what we breathe as oxygen. We understand mayhem and chaos. We also are born to understand that we have no self-worth. We are born to understand we have no self-efficacy. Why? Because we have no intention of accomplishing anything. So why would we believe that we can accomplish anything? If we have no self-efficacy and no self-worth, then that means we have no self-value. So we don't even see what we bring to the table, which means how are we going to be in a relationship with someone else or work to help the movement of the people when we don't even see what we bring to the table? We don't even see how important we are in this world. We don't even see that. We don't even see that. We consider ourselves insignificant because we have been physically and ideologically and mentally beaten up by the system. We also have a system that teaches us that we are not enough. That's why you see skin cream commercials at 3:30 in the morning. That's why you see commercials to help with blemishes. And you see commercials to help if you have a saggy chest and all that other nonsense that we see. That's why you see all those commercials. If you are balding, you need to work on growing your hair back. That's why we see all these commercials. This TV is trash. That's why we see that, because the constant messaging is that we are not enough. The constant messaging is that you are not enough. The constant messaging is that I am not enough. And we need to make sure that we understand that because we're not enough, that means we are certainly not going to be enough for a relationship. We are never going to be enough. When in actuality, we are enough. But we have to push against this system that is constantly teaching us we're not enough. When you open up Facebook, you see ads that tell you you're not enough. When you open up TikTok, you see ads. On YouTube, you see ads. When you're driving on the freeway, you see billboards. All of these messagings telling you constantly You are not enough. You should pick yourself more. You should pick apart yourself more and more and more. And so how do we think about this as it relates to relationships? Just like we talked to you all a couple of presentations ago and said to you, you have to understand that when you are committed to your principles, that is going to set you apart from a lot of people, because a lot of people don't know how to stand up for anything, and they certainly don't know how to commit to something and then stick with it. We're not taught to be disciplined. We're not taught to understand how those things are factored in. So when you think about how you display a healthy relationship, you need to think about being committed to your principles. Because just like you as an individual need to learn how to do that, you as a person who is a part of a relationship need to learn how to do that. That's how you're going to know who you are as a person going into the relationship. Now, do you want to be open-minded and be open to other people influencing you? Sure, there's no problem with that. Many couples influence one another based on decisions that are made. But you also want to have an idea and a framework of who you are as you walk into this relationship. What you don't want is to just not know what you want and then to walk in blindly and literally allow a car to hit you in this relationship because you just are not aware of the fact that you need to have some moral ground on which you stand. This also means you have to bring something to the table. And again, this could be with the human that you're in this relationship with, or to the masses of the people. Don't come to the struggle and the work if you don't know what you want to get out of it. Why are you motivated to do this work to help us be free and to help Africa be free if you don't even have the idea on how to do that? Same thing with dating. Don't come to a relationship if you're just existing and taking up oxygen and space. We need to do better. I think I'm personally speaking from experience, but you all understand what I'm saying. So with that being said, we want to be open, okay? You need to remember to have a growth mindset. Know yourself, know yourself, know yourself, know what you want. Know what you want and understand the importance of having independent space as well as collective space, okay? Next slide, please. All right, so we have to remember that Valentine's Day is a creation of capitalism for profit, right? We know that. We know that this system is all about getting you to spend as much of your money as possible. As a matter of fact, this system is so interested in trying to figure out how much money it can make off of you, it has pulled out all the stops to do so. So if you're driving around tonight, because maybe you're still trying to figure out what bar you want to go to see the game, maybe you're still listening to our broadcast, but you're also figuring out what bar you want to go to, you might see some parking lots that might have vendors with tables set up because they're selling last minute Valentine's Day items. So they have the teddy bears in the baskets with the plastic wrapped over it and it looks like a big oval. You all know what I'm talking about. Or maybe they have balloons, or they might even have chocolate in the freezer, in the little freezer ice cooler for you. You can buy it tonight, you can buy it tomorrow, you can buy it early at 6:30, 5:30 in the morning tomorrow if you want, because shame on you, you should have got your gift earlier, but it's a last minute opportunity for you to buy something and to prove to your loved one that you went above and beyond. So you spent $75 for a teddy bear that should cost 15, because this is what capitalism does. And when it's not getting you in the parking lot, it's trying to get you at Target. And that's why they set up the Valentine's Day stuff right after Halloween. I was shocked when I saw that. And my dad was like, why? Why are you shocked? And I'm like, because you have two other capitalist holidays before Valentine's Day. You can't even keep up with your own backward system, but neither here nor there. So we're thinking about these shopping centers and how they have people set up to exploit you and to get your money. We're thinking about how you can buy stuff tonight, you can buy stuff tomorrow, you can buy stuff tomorrow during the day, you can even buy stuff tomorrow at night. You can buy stuff as much as you want. And we're thinking about how the whole purpose was for you to spend this money. So as my dad said, you can have something delivered, you can buy something online, you can buy something in person. I want us to highlight how your labor is being spent. Like your labor is a way of spending things, okay? Because the effort you're making to find all these materials, all these items, and then figuring out with the delayed cost of shipping, how you're going to get the stuff to that person, which means you probably had to start looking somewhere in January to get these things out to these people in time. It also makes us think about your display status. So what happens when you don't have a gift for your partner? What does that say about your relationship? Is it built on the fact that you should have got this materialistic possession? And if you identify as an organizer, then how do you start to grapple with those conversations? Because you may not want your relationship to be based on materialized possessions. I personally could understand if you wanted to have some more foundation beyond that. But if you're not able to get that last minute $75 teddy bear, then what happens? What does that look like after that? Excessive amounts of money are being spent. We also need to take into account that people are counting on the fact that they want to exploit you. So you need to remember that, not just for tomorrow's holiday, but for all these holidays. That's why it's a backwards entity to celebrate them in the first place. And if you go to dinner tomorrow with your partner, keep in mind that the roses are going to be floating around the room because they're trying to get you to buy every little dollar that you can, not including the fact that you paid for parking, you did ballet, you got dinner, that was expensive. You already sent chocolate to their job that day, and now you're buying the flowers at dinner at the restaurant. This is how they do this stuff, y'all. This is how they do that stuff. And the sooner we get better at recognizing it, the faster we get better at recognizing it, the better we can get at resisting it, because we understand that we need to focus our energy more so on organizing. Am I saying that you shouldn't make your partner feel valued and respected? No, that's not what I'm saying. But I am challenging you to think about how you show them that you value and respect them versus doing something else that may not be as materialistic dependent to show them that same entity. Because if the objective is to make them feel valued and respected, then again, I question why a $75 teddy bear or a $55 rose, a single $55 rose, is going to display that. I would just question that. That's just me just trying to help y'all out, because we really have to think about that. We have to think about how ingrained the system has been with us and how it teaches us that we need to understand that our relationship or self-care or love is not the priority. The priority is making as much money off of you as possible. And for what? For you to show that you care, which is an oxymoron. That is an exploitive capitalist moron. The other part of it is this other devious side that I want to highlight is that it centers this idea that for people who are single, that means that something is wrong with them, which is also oxymoron and absurd. But these are the same systems that we're dealing with. So just like the system is telling you you're not enough, it's also telling you something's wrong with you because you don't have somebody spending $75 on you to get a teddy bear. So we just need to be critical about all of that. And that's why self-care is important. That's why knowing thyself is important. And that's why doing work for other people, because the masses need you, is going to be most important at the end of the day. That's how we're going to resist the capitalism and all these backwards media messages that are telling us we're not enough. We're going to win. We're going to fight and we're going to win. And then we'll be enough. And everybody in this world will know it, because everybody will be enough and everyone will have their land back and have power, because we are enough. Join an organization working for justice and take care of yourself.
Ashe, Ashe, thank you very much, Shukura. And before I get started closing us out, I just want to highlight a couple of things. There are some wonderful comments I want to speak to on social media. We have a good comrade, Amar from Egypt. Greetings from Egypt. Thank you, family. We appreciate you. We appreciate you tuning in, because we know what time it is where you are. So we appreciate you doing that and taking your time to participate here with us. And we have to say this because we don't know. Egypt is in Africa, you all. It is a part of Africa. So we are very thankful for you being here. And then our good comrade, Linton, wrote, "Salute to two revolutionary Africans for their effort in doing this hard but necessary work today when the enemy is working OT to get our attention. Africa loves you. Keep strong." Very much appreciated that. Constantly need that reminder. So thank you very much. And then I just want to say that, during this presentation, we have pictures of all types of loving relationships. So if somebody sees this and, you're stuck on a heteronormative definition of what a loving relationship is, then that's your problem. Please don't send these notes to me. I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to read it. I don't care what you think. So save that. If you can't handle this, then don't focus on it. Then focus on that TV in your room that rent-to-own is going to come any minute and repossess. Figure out how you're going to solve those kind of problems, because that's really what you're upset about. You can't be upset about people's relationship you don't know anything about. That's absurd. So we're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is reiterate again that we are a Pan-African political party, which means we are on the ground fighting for Pan-Africanism. And one of the many things we're doing is raising money through this program, Our Ancestors' Voices, currently for one of our sibling parties on the ground in Africa. On your screen, the Zimbabwe Movement for Pan-African Socialists. So please donate to abetterworld.me. We're not asking for large donations. We're just simply asking for $5, $10, small donations. We'll send them to them as we get them, because, this backward country has sanctions against Zimbabwe. So obviously we don't want to even if we had $5,000 to send them, that probably would not be a smart move to make. So we want to ask you to do that. And, you know, if you're worried about, well, if they have sanctions and I donate, then how is that going to play on me? Well, it's not going to play on you because you're donating to our site. You're not donating directly to Zimbabwe. We're the ones sending the money to Zimbabwe. So if they come to anybody, it's me they're going to come to. And if they come, it won't be the first time. And if I'm living up to my responsibility to our ancestors, it won't be the last time. So please help us build our work. We're trying to get books of a revolutionary nature in Africa, because once our people are politically educated around the world, no force on earth will be able to stop us. So I'm going to continue on with the theme that Shakura helped us lay out here. So the question is, should we celebrate this holiday, Valentine's Day? Should we celebrate it? And the answer is, and I just want to reiterate again in case you didn't hear it, don't send these notes because you disagree with the pictures. I don't give a damn what you agree or disagree with. Okay, so you're wasting your time. You may as well look at a brick wall and yell at the brick wall. I don't care. You know, we're so sick and confused in this backward society because somebody is so non-selfish that I understand that everybody's relationship isn't like mine, that I post a picture, then that means I must be gay. I mean, what a fourth grade consciousness to say something like that. Like, it doesn't matter. It's none of your damn business anyway. But I mean, I get these messages when I do this. That's why I'm saying this, you all. I mean, what a stupid, I'm just telling you, if that's what you think or what anybody you know thinks, then you're stupid and they are too. All right. So we're going to continue forward. We don't care what you think. So save your backward opinions for the pigeons in your backyard. They don't care, but they'll eat whatever food you throw out to them while you're expressing your backward opinions. So the question is, should we celebrate Valentine's Day? And our institutions, we believe we should create institutions that highlight anti-capitalist and anti-patriarchal models for love. So what do we mean by institutions? We mean the things that we establish that the masses of our people participate in on an ongoing and regular basis, right? So whether that's African Liberation Day, whether that's Pan-African Women's Day, whether that's on Thanksgiving for the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, whether it's St. Patrick's Day for the Irish comrades, whatever our institutions are, they should be based in anti-capitalist, anti-patriarchal values. And the reason why they need to be based that way is that the masses of our people really don't understand how capitalism controls our day-to-day lives. We do not understand that. The majority of people, 99.9% of people in these backward societies actually believe that what they do every day, they thought of themselves and they're doing what they want to do. And people have no understanding of how much this system shapes what you believe and what you do. With the evidence of that is irrefutable, because it's millions of people doing the same thing you do, buying the same stuff you buy, dressing the same way you dress, liking the same foods you like, listening to the same music you listen to, talking the same way you talk, but yet you thought of everything yourself. Nobody told you what to think. You thought of it yourself. Clearly, there's no question that we have a system in place that's shaping everything for us. So we have to create institutions that challenge this, because the way this system develops these ideas that it floods into our brains is not healthy for humanity. It's not healthy at all. So we have to create something different. So that's why our institutions always have to be, it doesn't matter what we're talking about, it has to include a component that is anti-capitalist, anti-white supremacist, anti-patriarchal, anti-homophobia. Everything we do needs to have those values and principles as a part of it. And then the next thing is that we have to learn how to take control of our destiny. You know, we should learn how to take control of our destiny. Like, nobody likes to hear, well, you don't think for yourself, but you're doing everything the way they taught you how to do it. So how could you say that they don't control how you think? And by they, I mean the capitalist system. I mean the system where everything, means of production, is owned and controlled by private entities for private profit. Like Shakur said, if you turn on this Super Bowl game, they got car commercials. If you don't drive this car, you'll never get anybody. Nobody's ever going to like you. You're not going to be cool enough. If you don't wear this deodorant, you're going to stink and nobody's going to like you. If you don't eat this food, or what does the guy say? I don't, whatever it is, he said, I don't do much in life, but when I do it like this. So if you're not like him, then you're going to be a loser in your life. That's every message that we get 24/7, 365 days a year, no matter where we live on earth, no matter where we live on earth. And so we are vastly influenced by this backwardness that's only intention is to exploit us and get us to do what they want us to do, which is take the little pennies that they pay us on these jobs we work, whatever we do, and give it right back to them. That's what this whole system banks on. And so they need to make sure that they control our thinking. And guess what? They do control our thinking. I know people don't want to hear that. I know people don't want to believe it, but you have no evidence to indicate that that is not true. The only way that you can even make an argument that that's not true is if you're involved in revolutionary work that's designed to overthrow this system, because clearly you're not going to be doing that if you're going along to get along with the capitalist system. Clearly you're not going to be doing that. So if you're engaged in actual revolutionary work, we salute you. Clearly you're not somebody that's comfortable and content to let somebody tell you what you need to think. But if all you're doing is going to work, going home, or even if you don't work, buying stuff and living life day to day and interacting with your family and friends, then that's what capitalism, they created that agenda for you. Everything except doing anything to challenge the status quo. They created that agenda. That's their agenda. That's not your agenda. I know you think it's yours, but that's their agenda, because what they want to make sure is that you don't do anything to stop them from what they're doing. So yeah, you want to go buy some liquor and get drunk and forget about your problems, that as long as you pay taxes, so they'll have money to bomb the hell out of everybody on earth. That's what they want you to do. You get high all day, smoke weed all day. You don't want to be bothered. You work hard, you smoke weed all day, and that's all you do. Oh, I pay my child support, but you don't do anything else against the status quo. They love that. Thank you for that, because that's what they need you to do, because they'll take your tax revenue and they'll give you a little bit of it back. Now it's tax return season. You think you're getting something, but they got the bulk of your money and they're using it to create havoc all over the earth so that they can maintain control. And as long as you don't ever think about that, you don't care about that, and you can't say you care about it if you don't do anything about it. You know, if you're in a relationship with someone and they're questioning whether you care for them, and you can't name one thing you've done to support them as a human being, you don't care about them. It doesn't matter what you say. Words are worthless. It's about what you do. Behavior is only defined by what we do, not what we say. So you cannot say you care about something and you don't know anything about it. You haven't even taken time to seriously study it. You don't even pay attention to it. You don't know anything about it. You just know what these fools tell you on TV about it. You don't care about it then. So, you know, just be honest and say, I don't care about that. You know, I tell people all the time, they have these, I support my troops. And I say, you don't support them people. You don't care. You don't even know how much trauma these people that serve in this backward military face. There are almost 30 of them a day that take their own lives because they can't handle what they've been forced to endure. So you don't care about them, because if you drive right on by the ones on the freeway off ramp, you might give them 50 cents or $1. But if you really cared about them, you would be engaged in consistent activity to stop that problem. You don't want to do all you really want. They can get their legs blown off, their head blown off. As long as you get to have a comfortable lifestyle, that's all most people care about. That's not caring about them. I know some people might be confused, but just to clarify, that's not caring about them. So we have to learn to take control of our destiny. And that means thinking for ourselves based on our own culture and history, and based on fundamental values, as Shakur said, of justice. You can't have any kind of relationship. You can't be in love with someone and your relationship is not based on fundamental values of justice. then if you don't have that, then once you take away the foundation of justice, then anything goes. They can beat the hell out of you and they can find a justification. That's what happens. Well, it's my fault that he beats the hell out of me because the foundation of justice is gone. Well, it's your fault that I can't keep a job because the foundation of justice is gone. It doesn't exist. When there's a foundation of justice, then everybody has to be accountable to everybody. And so you eliminate that kind of nonsense I just mentioned because you're now accountable because your foundation is righteousness and justice. So you have a responsibility to be responsible to the person you're engaged with. You cannot elevate your values over theirs and ignore what's in their best interest because you have a foundation of justice. And the only way you can create that kind and build upon a foundation like that is you have to learn how to think critically. If all you're doing is listening to what these people tell you on their media outlets about what's happening in the world, you are not thinking critically. You don't know how to think critically. So what you're really doing is serving the master against the interests of all of humanity. And if you get upset hearing that, I hope you have a headache the rest of the night because you should have a headache. If that's all that we're doing and we're not doing any more to try to develop our thinking and so that we can think like healthy and conscious human beings, because that's what's going to be required to move us forward. So if celebrating February 14th is a part of how you get down, then celebrate February 14th. But at least do something to change it up. You do some kind of vows. The vows should be what? They should be values of justice, a foundation of justice. How are you going to use your connection to each other to make a greater contribution to the society you live in? Because what the hell is the point of having a strong relationship with someone when you don't use that strength to do anything positive other than just for yourselves? What's the point of that? It doesn't do anything. You think that's our ancestors threw themselves over the side of the ship into the ocean to escape the slave master? They created organized rebellion against the colonizers in Africa, organized rebellion against the slave masters on the slave ships and the plantation, just so you could do everything for yourself. You think they did that? If they had the kind of selfish values that people have today, they would have said, sure, I'm gonna do whatever I got to do to stay alive so I can take care of myself. And you probably wouldn't even be here today because they would have been killed in the process and not even trying to defend themselves. They would have been killed and you wouldn't even be here today. The only reason why you're here is because people fought because they knew we needed something better. And we're not doing that now. We're not fighting because we need something. We're totally satisfied with the status quo. We're totally satisfied to sit here because our lights are on. So we don't give a damn if people's lights around the world are not on. Our electricity is on, our heat is on. So we don't give a damn if people around the world heat is not on. We got a car, so we don't give a damn if people are not able to get around. I don't care what you say. If you're not doing anything to correct the injustice, you don't care. That's all there is to it. So we have to acknowledge that. Stop. We're not going to play that game. That's what it is. We got to hold ourselves accountable and raise the bar. We've got to do that. And it's going to be uncomfortable because anytime you push yourself out of your comfort zone, it's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's not supposed to be easy. It's never going to be easy. That's why I appreciate the comment from the comrade Linton, because this work is not easy. It is very difficult telling our people about ourselves. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear anybody telling us anything that we need to hear. We don't want to hear that. We want to hang on to our little stuff that we have because we don't really want to be uncomfortable. And the role of revolutionaries is to shake stuff up. That's what revolutionaries do. And so we are constantly uncomfortable. We are constantly stressed out because that's the work. And so I appreciate that comment because that's someone who is recognizing that. And it doesn't get recognized very much. You go through life doing this work, you're a problem. Well, you make it, you make people mad because you're telling them the truth. So we can't deal with that every day. 24/7, 365. So we appreciate all of you that acknowledge that and appreciate it. So healthy and revolutionary love. And I just want to acknowledge, Shakur was talking about in that first slide about Amy Jock Garvey and Marcus Garvey. That was not a picture of Amy Jock Garvey and Marcus Garvey because, we got to study more, family. So we don't study. So we got to say, so that was Robert and Mabel Williams, who were great figures in our history of liberation. You should study up on Robert and Mabel Williams. That's who that was in the first picture. And on this picture, we have Ahmed Sekwe and his wife, Madame Touré, Madame Mamadou Touré out of Guinea, outstanding revolutionary Pan-Africanist ideologues for the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. We love Sekwe Touré. We love Madame Mamadou Touré. So just want to make sure people know who you're looking at. And healthy and revolutionary love, defining what love actually means based in values of respect, courage, and selflessness. And again, if you have that, then you're implementing what I just talked about, ensuring your relationship is based on values of anti-capitalism, anti-white supremacy, anti-patriarchy. Because if you have respect, and that doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. I mean, I spent the last couple of days with a wonderful couple of days with the wonderful person in my life. And I made mistakes, I make a million mistakes a week. That's just what happens. But I am okay with that because I always work to try to be better. I'm not abusive. I just make mistakes. And anybody that, as Sekwe Touré said, the only people that don't make mistakes are people that don't do anything. So anybody that's trying to do something, you're going to make errors. And fortunately, the person I have in my life is understand that we both, are growing, make mistakes, and we build together. But our struggle is to create a relationship built on respect, values of courage, and selflessness. That's what we do. We don't necessarily call it by those words, but that's what it is, to make sure that you think about the other person. Because if you can learn to think about the other person, and then that begins to expand, then you can think about humanity. And then once you can do that, then you can get beyond this limited consciousness. Well, I live in the US, so that's all I know. I mean, you should be ashamed to say that. You shouldn't even want to have people hear you say something like that. I live in Sacramento, so that's all I know. I live in Memphis, that's all I know. You should be ashamed to have people hear you say that, because when you say something like that, you all, what you're doing is you're acknowledging and admitting that you have a colonial mentality. That's what you're doing. You have a slave mentality. That's what you're doing when you say that, because who created these borders? Who created these borders about the US? And that's all you need to know. The colonizer did that. You didn't do that. You don't know anything about Africa. You haven't even thought to look at a map and understand what Africa looks like. So you certainly didn't do that. The colonizer did that. So when all you know is the US, you are acknowledging that you have accepted the slave master's ideology and his system of values. That's what you're doing. Now, because you don't know anything outside the US, that's not a crime. We're not putting you down for that, but you've got to acknowledge, I need to learn more about what's happening in the world. You got to do that. That's where you start. And once you do that, whatever pace you learn is fine. You're not in a race. It's not a crime that you're not learning as fast as you're not competing against anybody. We're just trying to make the world a better place. And the way we do that is by getting everybody educated up. Because right now, you all, people have no education in this society. This is an anti-education society. African people in the society, we don't know who the hell we are. We don't know where we came from. We're wearing the master's name, speaking the master's language, worshiping religion the way the master taught us, interacting with each other based on the values the master provided to us. And we talking about we think for ourselves. And how is that working out for us? I mean, it clearly, we are not doing well following that model. So that's what we mean when we say redefining. Everything we do needs to be redefined. Everything needs to be put on the table. Nothing is sacred. How the hell is a slave going to have something sacred and you're enslaved? A slave needs to put everything on the table. How the hell you? Well, I won't change. I won't ever change what I think about that. Well, can you imagine a slave on the plantation and somebody saying we should escape? And the slave is sitting there, I'm not going to ever entertain nothing other than what's in front of me right now. I mean, you would think that person is insane. But that's how we are today. We're absolutely insane in our thinking. We don't want to think about nothing outside of our present world. Like that's worked well for us. Each and every one of us live in dysfunctional environments. And we don't want to think about anything outside of what we already know, which all that is perpetuating the dysfunction. Because what we all learned in this backward society is dysfunction. They send us to school every day to teach us dysfunction. Christopher Columbus discovered America. That's dysfunctional as hell. The 4th of July is our Independence Day, dysfunctional as hell. Veterans Day, celebrating the US military fighting for freedom and democracy. That is about as dysfunctional as it can get, you all. So if you can't think anything beyond that kind of nonsense, then you are destined for a life of dysfunction. And we don't want that for you. We don't want that for nobody. So that's why we're saying we got to redefine everything. And healthy love in an unhealthy society has to have that commitment to justice. You can't have no relationship and be like, well, we're not political. I mean, you sound like a damn fool saying that. We're not political. Anybody if you're LGBTQ and you're in a relationship, that's a political act. If you're African and you're in a relationship, no matter who the hell you're in the relationship with, that's a political act. If you're a woman and you're in a relationship, that's a political act. Because if you marry somebody, Mrs. means ownership. So if you have dignity, you're going to fight against that. That's politics, you all. That's political struggle. That's what that is. So only an absolute idiot would sit there and say, our relationship is not political. There is no such thing as a non-political relationship. You know why? Because there is no such thing as anything that's not political. Because the definition of politics is understanding the forces at work and realizing how to shape them in a way that serves your interests. That is the definition of politics. The definition of politics is not voting for one cracker over another, not voting for a Negro, somebody disguised as a Negro who's a cracker on the inside. That's not what politics is. That's one very small, minute element of politics. Politics is understanding the forces that impact your life and figuring out how to shape them in a way that serves your interests. That's the definition of politics. So we have to understand that a healthy love requires us to understand, as Shakur said, that our individual relationship is a part of the larger struggle in society. We have to see it like that. You can't see it no other way. If you try to see it some other way, then you're basically saying that everything that's happening here is okay. You're okay with it. So then when it hits you, you can't complain. And in traditional African culture, indigenous people's culture, etc., the family unit is there for support and nurturing. The family is not there just to make money. Family, what kind of nonsense is that? The family is there to supply nurturing. The community is there for nurturing and support. That's why they make Hillary Clinton with her devil blood inside of her. So they're talking about it takes a village to raise a family. Well, that's our African saying. That's our saying that she stole from us like they stole every damn thing else they have from us. So we have to understand, because what some of us is so foolish. Well, Hillary Clinton said, Hillary Clinton ain't said nothing. We had that long before that demon came along. This is our value, that we understand that the community raises our kids and raises our families and supports our families. We got to get back to that. And how you going to get back to that when you looking at your relationship as just our individual? We're not political. We don't get involved in nothing. We'll never build nothing. And you and whoever you're with will die and we'll have nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for it. That's not why our ancestors died. We can do so much better. And so in African culture, there's no such thing as a two-person only relationship. That doesn't even exist. You go to Africa, go to a wedding in Africa. Anybody on here who's either born and raised in Africa or has been there multiple times, like I've been fortunate enough to do, and has gone to multiple weddings, it's not just two people getting married like it is in this backward society. The whole family participates. The whole family, even if they don't know the groom or the bride, they're talking to the groom or bride. They're talking about telling you what you need to be doing in the relationship and how they gonna come at you if you don't. The people that have seen this know what I'm talking about. How they gonna deal with you if you don't do right in the relationship, because they don't look at it. Our culture does not look at it like it's just you and this person. That's their business. No, that's a Western capitalist value. It's the community's business. So we have to learn that. So creating revolutionary healthy love, building relationships based on values and not things. Shakur spoke to that. I think people understand what that means. Your relationship should be your vehicle to serve as a shining light against injustices all around you. You should see your relationship as a tool to fight for justice. Now, that doesn't mean he telling me I gotta take my wife and join that all African people's revolution thing. No, he ain't please stay away from the APRP. We do not want to deal with your kind of nonsense. We are not telling you that. Please don't. Please, I hope that when you pull up our website with that kind of backward thinking, that it just logs you off your computer automatically. So that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you have got to have a relationship that is based in values of justice. So you should see your relationship as being built upon making sure you contribute to making the world a better place. That's what that means. Ain't nobody telling nobody what they have to do, just telling you that you got a responsibility to humanity. You decide how you want to have that responsibility. And people are watching you. And so they're going to be attempting based on your model to figure out how to live a better life. So that's another example of responsibility you have beyond just the two of you or whatever it is. And of course, relationships should be supported always by active participation in our struggle for liberation. So that might mean one of you is involved and one of you supports that person. That might mean both of you are involved, but it cannot mean both of you are totally disconnected from any active struggle for justice. It can't mean that, because if you're doing that, it's like the old saying, you're either fighting for the people or you're against the people. Kwame Ture is 100% correct. There's no middle ground. There's no gray area. You're either fighting for the people or you're against the people. So you're either involved in active struggle for liberation, or you're at least involved with somebody who is, and you're providing them all the emotional, physical, whatever support they need to engage in the struggle, or you're not involved in it at all. And that means that you're against our people. There's no middle ground. You see somebody killing somebody on the street and you don't do anything, then you are a part of the process that caused that person to be killed. That's why it traumatizes you for the rest of your life. If you didn't have any fault in it at all, it wouldn't. You think about it a couple of days and you move on like everything else. The reason why it traumatizes you is because part of you knows you should have done something. It is your responsibility to do something. Part of you knows that. Not telling you what to do. Don't get though. He trying to no, he ain't trying to tell you nothing except wake up. Your responsibility to do something. That's what we're saying. So thank you for today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you know, I always wonder, somebody trying to come in, it's time for the program to be over. I don't know who it is. I don't want to say anything, but I always wonder because, you know, we have all these strange people that try to come at us. So I don't know. They're coming in at the ending. That's interesting. Anyway, our Ancestors Voices Sunday, February 20th, 2022. We hope you join us 4 to 5 p.m. We had trouble getting on our other platforms today, YouTube and Twitter. Hopefully we'll work that out, but appreciate those of you that came through. Exposing the lies about Malcolm X is assassination. He was assassinated 57 years ago, February 21st. So we're going to be talking about the who, what, where, why, when, and exposing the lies about that. So join us and let people know. Go to our shop and buy our clothing. Support independent revolutionary Pan-African organizations like the AAPRP. Go to our shop. There's the link there. Join the All African People's Revolutionary Party if you're ready. We would love to have you. APRP-intl.org. Go there. Go to betterworld.me. Make your donation. We're raising money for the Zimbabwe movement of Pan-African socialists. I'm telling all this, saying it to the white supremacists, to the FBI, CIA. We are raising money for our sibling organization. So y'all do what you got to do, because we're going to do what we got to do. And we know you listening. So we're going to do what we got to do. And hoodcommunist.org, We have bi-monthly Telegram events. Every Thursday, we have new articles. Check it out. And we have an event this Thursday. Download Telegram on your through your smartphone app store and listen in. It's very good. We have all these programs on the bottom. Pontula podcast on Mondays. APRP Revolutionary African Women, the last Saturday of the month. Forward Ever broadcast, our comrades in the Bay Area, just a couple of miles from me here, organized Tuesday night film series. Check that out. Comrades in New Mexico, Thursday broadcast, 12 noon Mountain Time. They've been going as long, if not a little longer than we have. So check that out. A guide for organizing defense against white supremacist, patriarchal, and fascist violence. My book. Buy the book. Let people know. Thank you all. Forward ever, backwards never. Always stay clever in any endeavor. We appreciate you all, and we look forward to seeing you again. Stay strong, and you already know capitalism, it's got to go. Pan-Africanism forever. One unified socialist Africa. Have a good Sunday evening.